Shri Sai Satcharitra chapter 16 and 17. Quick Brahm Gyan. These two chapters relate the story of a rich gentleman who wanted Brahm Gyan quickly from Sai Baba. Preliminary. The last chapter described how Mr. Cholkar's vow of small offering was completed and accepted. In that story, Sai Baba showed that he would accept with appreciation any small thing offered with love and devotion. But if the same thing was offered with pride and haughtiness, he would reject it. Being himself full of Sat Chit Anand, pure consciousness, knowledge, and bliss, he did not care much for mere outward formalities, but if an offering was made in a humble spirit, the same was welcome and he accepted it with pleasure and avidity. In fact, there is no person more generous and benevolent than a Sadguru like Sai Baba. He cannot be compared to the Chintamani jewel, the Kalptaru, the celestial tree which fulfills our desire, or the Kamdhenu, the celestial cow which yields what we desire. They give us only what we desire, but the Sadguru gives us the most precious thing, that is, inconceivable and inscrutable, the reality. Now, let us hear how Sai Baba disposed of a rich man who came to him and implored him to give Brahm Gyan. There was a rich gentleman, unfortunately, his name and his whereabouts are not mentioned, who was very prosperous in his life. He had amassed a large amount of wealth, houses, and lands, and had many servants and dependents. When Baba's fame reached his ear, he said to a friend that he was not in want of anything, and so he would go to Shirdi and ask Baba to give him Brahm Gyan, which, if he got, would certainly make him more happy. His friend dissuaded him, saying, "It is not easy to know Brahma, and specially so for an avaricious man like you, who is always engrossed in wealth, wife, and children. Who will, in your quest of Brahma Gyan, satisfy you, who does not even give even a paisa in charity?" Not minding his friend's advice, the fellow engaged a return Tonga journey and came to Shirdi. He went to the masjid, saw Sai Baba, fell at his feet and said, "Baba, hearing that you show Brahma to all who come to you, I have to come here, all the way from my distant place. I am much fatigued by the journey, and if I get Brahma Gyan from you, my troubles will be well paid and rewarded." Baba then replied, "O my dear friend, do not be anxious. I shall show you Brahma. Many people come to me and ask me for wealth, health, power, honor, position, cure of disease, and other temporal matters. Rare is a person who comes to me and asks for Brahma Gyan. There is no dearth of people asking for worldly things, but people interested in spiritual matters are very rare. I think it is a fortunate and auspicious moment when persons like you come and ask me for Brahma Gyan. So, forthwith, I show you with pleasure Brahma with all its accompaniments and complexities." Saying this, Baba started to show him Brahma. He made him sit there and engaged him in some other talk, and thus made him forget his question for time being. Then he called a boy and told him to go to Nandu Marwadi and get from him a loan of rupees 5. The boy left and returned immediately, saying that Nandu was absent and his house was locked. Then Baba asked him to go to Bala Grocer and get from him the said loan. This time also the boy was unsuccessful. This experiment was repeated again, twice or thrice, with the same result. Sai Baba, as we know, the living and the moving Brahma incarnate. Then someone may ask, why did he want the sum, which was so small, of rupees 5, and why did he try so hard to get it? In reality, he did not want this sum at all. He must have fully known that Nandu and Bala were absent, and he seemed to have adopted this procedure as a test for the seeker of Brahma. The gentleman had a roll or bundle of currency notes in his pocket, and if he was really earnest, he would have not sat quiet and be onlooker, a mere onlooker, when Baba was frantically trying to get a paltry sum of rupees 5. He knew that Baba would keep his word and repay the debt, and that the sum wanted was insignificant. Still, he could not make up his mind and advance the sum. Such a man wanted from Baba the greatest thing in the world, which is Brahmagyan. Any other man who really loved Baba would have given him rupees 5 at once, instead of being a mere onlooker. It was otherwise with this man. He advanced no money, nor did he sit silent, but began to be impatient, as he was in a haste to return, and implored Baba, saying, "O Baba, please give me Brahmagyan soon." Baba replied, "O my dear friend, did you not understand the procedure that I just went through, sitting in this place, for enabling you to see Brahma? It is in short this: for seeing Brahma, one has to give 5 things, surrender 5 things, 5 pranas, vital forces, 5 senses, mind, intellect, ego. This path of Brahmagyan or self realization is as hard as treading on the edge of a razor." Sai Baba then gave a rather long discourse on the subject, the purport of which is given below. Qualifications for Brahmagyan or self realization. All persons do not realize the Brahma in their lifetime. Certain qualifications are absolutely necessary, which are: first, mumukshu, or intense desire to get free. He who thinks that he is bound and that he should get free from the bondage and works earnestly and resolutely to the end and does not care for any other thing is qualified for spiritual life. Second, virakti, or a feeling of non attachment with the things of this world and the next. Unless a man feels disgusted with the things, emoluments, and honors which his actions would bring in this world and the next, he has no right to enter the spiritual realm. Third, antarmukha, introversion. Our senses have been created by the God with a tendency to move outward, and so man always looks outward and not inward. He who wants self realization and immortal life must turn his gaze inward and look to his inner self. Fourth, catharsis, eliminating all base ideas and emotions. Unless a man has turned away from wickedness and stopped from doing wrong and has entirely composed himself, and unless his mind is at rest, he cannot gain self realization even by the means of knowledge. Fifth, right conduct. Unless a man leads a life of truth, penance, and insight, a life of celibacy, he cannot get self realization. Sixth, preferring Shreyas the good to Preyas the pleasant. There are two sorts of things, the good and the pleasant. The former deals with spiritual affairs, the latter with mundane matters. Both these are open to man for acceptance. He has to think and choose one of them. The wise man prefers the good to the pleasant, but the unwise, through greed and attachment, chooses the pleasant. Seventh, control of mind and the senses. The body is the chariot. The self is the master, intellect is the charioteer, and mind is the reins, and the senses are the horses, and the sense objects are their paths. He who has no understanding and whose mind is unrestrained has his senses unmanageable like a stray horse of a charioteer, does not reach his destination, get self realization, but goes through the rounds of births and deaths. But he who has an understanding and whose mind is restrained has his senses under control, like the good obedient horse of a charioteer, reaches the destination, either the state of self realization, whence he is not born again. The man who has the understanding as his charioteer and is able to rein his mind reaches the end of the journey, which is the supreme abode of the all pervading Vishnu. Eighth, purification of the mind. Unless a man discharges satisfactorily and disinterestedly the duties of his action in life, his mind will not be purified, and unless his mind is purified, he cannot get self realization. It is only in a purified mind that viveka, disattachment to the unreal, crops up and leads to self realization. Unless egoism is dropped, avarice got rid of, and mind is made desireless, pure, self realization is not possible. The idea that I am the body is a great delusion, and the attachment to this idea is the cause of bondage. Leave off this idea, attachment, therefore, if you want to reach the goal of self realization. Ninth, necessity of a guru. The knowledge of self is so subtle and mystic that no one can by his own individual effort ever hope to attain it. So, the help of another person, teacher, who has himself got self realization is absolutely necessary. What others cannot give with great pleasure and pains can be easily gained with the help of such a teacher, for he has walked the path himself and can easily take the disciple step by step on the ladder of spiritual progress. And lastly, grace of Lord is the most essential thing. When the Lord is pleased with anybody, he gives him viveka, discrimination, and vairagya, detachment, and takes him safely beyond the ocean of mundane existence. The self cannot be gained by the study of the Vedas, nor by intellect, nor by learning. He whom the self chooses gains it. To him, the self reveals its nature, says the Katha Upanishad. After the discussion was over, Baba turned to the gentleman and said, "Well, sir, there is in your pocket the Brahma in the form of 50 times of rupees 5, rupees 250. Please take that out." The gentleman took out from his pocket the bundle of currency notes and to his great surprise found on counting them that there was 25 notes of 10 rupees each. Seeing this omniscience of Baba, he was moved and fell at Baba's feet and craved for his blessings. Then Baba said to him, "Roll up your bundle of Brahma, currency notes. Unless you completely get rid of your avarice or greed, you will not get the real Brahma. How can he whose mind is engrossed in wealth, progeny, and prosperity expect to know the Brahma without removing his attachment for them? The illusion of attachment or love for money is a deep eddy whirlpool of pain, full of crocodiles in the form of conceit and jealousy. He who is desireless can alone cross this whirlpool. Greed and Brahma are asunder as poles. They are eternally opposed to each other. Where there is greed, there is no room for thought or meditation of the Brahma. Then how can a greedy man get dispassion and salvation? For a greedy man there is no peace, neither contentment nor steadiness. If there be even a little trace of greed in mind, all the sadhanas, spiritual endeavors are of no avail. Even the knowledge of a well read man who is not free from the desire of the fruit or the reward of his action is futile and can't help him in getting self realization. The teaching of a guru are of no use to a man who is full of egoism and who always thinks about the sense objects. Purification of mind is absolutely necessary. Without it, all the spiritual endeavors are nothing but a useless show and pomp. It is therefore better for one to take only what he can digest and assimilate. My treasury is full, and I can give anyone what he wants, but I have to see whether he is qualified to receive my gift. If you listen to me carefully, you will be certainly benefited. While sitting in this masjid, I never speak any untruth. When a guest is invited to the house, all the members of the household and other friends and relations that happen to be present are entertained along with the guests. So all those who were present in the masjid at that time could partake of the spiritual feast that was served by Baba for the rich gentleman. After getting Baba's blessing, one and all, including the gentlemen, left the place quite happy and contented. Special characteristics of Baba. There are many saints who, leaving their houses, stay in forest, caves, or hermitages and in solitude in order to get liberation or salvation for themselves. They do not care for other people and are always self absorbed. Sai Baba was not such type. He had no home, no wife, none to look after, nor any relation near or distant. Still, he lived in the world, society. He begged his bread from 4 or 5 houses, always lived at the foot of neem tree, carried on worldly dealings, and taught all the people how to act and behave living in this world. Rare are the sadhus and saints who, after attaining God vision, strive for the welfare of the people. Sai Baba was the foremost of these, and therefore, says Himad Pant, blessed is the country, blessed is the family, blessed are the chaste parents, where this extraordinary, transcendent, precious, and pure jewel, Sai Baba was born. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all.